Hello.
Hi there.
This is strange. We always try before, and then when it gets to the moment, there's always something happening. Always something happening. Okay. Are you there? No. Well, if you're out of internet again. Like the last time that we met that you came actually to Portugal. Some of you met Ricardo, our one of our members, and by that moment, Ricardo told us like you were kind of living as an ecosystem, like all together, like a really collective in all the ways, like professionally, but also personally. Um, so that said, like one of the questions that we always start with the other guests is like how this strange situation now is affecting a little bit like teamwork and stuff. But I must assume that you guys, you live together, you work together, so for you it will be more or less the same. There's no differences happening because you are all together or not, or there are some team members that are not together with you.
Now we are grown-up adults, so we have our own apartment.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, but you so
Now,
you
so
are
we are not.
you are not all together, no?
Now everybody is in on apartment. There is actually now in Collectif Etc we are 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
Before we were at the start, at the beginning we were 12, after 10, after 9, and 9, now we are 6. And all the 6 people are very independent.
Okay.
We don't share our flat.
That was such a romantic idea.
It was a romantic story, but now it's another story.
We have another romantic story for the future.
Yes.
I know.
We're going to buy a big house all together.
So you are going actually back to the
roots.
To the roots.
There is half of the collective that is going to live together again, and we're going to move from the city to a remote area and just a little bit north of Marseille. And this time we are buying the house because, as Maxence said, we are grown adults, so we can buy, you know, some places. So
we have to be 15 to buy a house.
Yes.
So we take the girlfriends and
the dogs, the kids, everything, everybody.
Yeah. The idea is to create a new common place in the rural areas in order to experiment new projects around these ideas of commons. We are interested in this subject right now. We are developing some projects in France and in Europe regarding this topic. And for us, it was obvious that we have to test it also as ourselves.
But how are you imagining this? So it's like your collective you are actually like going to a place like a big one that you are living in, but you are also probably, of course, you are going to work there. So how are you imagining this that will change, and like what's your desire behind it? Why are you doing this?
It's because we are, you know, we have 10 years experiences, and our practice is changing over the years, and now we are a lot more interested into projects that last for years. And we are also interested more and more into buildings, and we are getting closer to the actual architecture practice, I mean buildings. And that way we started to develop a project in a village, a small village in remote area, And in that village, there were a big, huge factory, which is around 2,050 square meters factory. And all the associations in the territories are actually leading a project into that building. So what we do is that we are running the rehab project with them. And that way we get more and more interesting into that territory. And at the end, we just decided to go and live there and eventually buy a house. So we're getting really close to that very special project to us, and special in the way that it's a remarkable one. It's the one that is, it says that we are changing our practice too. So we wanted, you know, like 10 years ago, we made this big trip around France.
The Tour de France,
like
yeah.
Cycling around France. And now we want to take risk again, you know, like try to challenge ourselves with a new way of practicing and also new way of living, as we did 10 years ago. So we want to, you know, throw the dice again.
Yes.
Know, change,
yeah, you were getting too much comfortable somehow. Yes.
Not so much, but.
No, but it's funny that you were talking about like the kind of like the way you work, because I think that the other day on the office we were also not on the office actually. Now we are like all the day. Our team is always like Zooming or Skyping or whatever platform we use. But you're talking about these like our own practices, like you like that we build together with people. We are outside with the community actually doing something, and like with this situation now, we were a little bit thinking about how fragile and how non-resilient is this modus operandi. You know, it's like because you need to be close to the place and to the people that you are working with, and somehow like some of our projects are delayed or canceled because of that, because now you cannot be in this relationship. So it's nice that you are actually thinking about of like how to change yourself, actually also how to change your practices, not your values but your practices, and in such a big way that you are actually like living and moving yourself there. So it's really interesting. So
we don't do that for each project, you know.
Yeah, thank God. Otherwise, you'll be.
You know, if we have to buy a house for each project, then
there will be some other problems. Yes. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but for us, it's something that is quite dear to our heart. That we know that you are like developing this School of Commons, and it's something that is quite close to us because it's regarding like the way architecture is still thought as a discipline in the university. Especially here in Portugal, we felt that it's still quite classical in a way. So there are no there are not so many doors open while you are in university. So we know a bit about this project. I don't know if you want to talk. Maybe it's a secret, but it's something that we find really interesting to get to know a little bit more. So I will throw you this. I don't know if you want to talk about it. You don't?
Of course. We are very lucky because we are very friend with a collective, Italian collective called Orizzontale. I don't know if you know them.
Yeah, there will be guests. I don't remember if it's the next week or in 2 weeks, something like this.
Perfect. So
and with Zulu Arc as well, no?
Yeah, Zulu. Yeah.
They were the first ones.
Okay. But the story is that thanks to Orizzontale, they bring. We made a project in Italy with them, and they talk about a project they are dealing with from 3 years now in the south of Italy, in Calabria.
Mm-hmm.
And they are working with a local association called La Rivoluzione delle Zeppie. And this association is working around the rehabilitation of an old palazzo of the village of Belmonte. It's a little village in the mountain. And Horizontale is working with this association in order to create a new place for the village, you know, for the community to, and a new place to do stuff, to do things, to bring people, to bring discussion and debate. And so we went, they invited us to just to see this project in February this year. And after this trip, we said, okay, we have to, it's very good because they also bring the University of London there. Mm-hmm. And for 3 years now, they are creating a project between the local association, Horizontale, and the University of London of Architecture. Mm-hmm. And so we were like this, we were talking about this, and we for us it was very interesting this kind of
the connection between this
one school, one collective, and one local association doing a project together. And we want to emphasize this kind of project, and we want to participate also. So with them, we decided to create a big project, a European project with Erasmus+, which is a grant. Mm-hmm. And so we, for 3 months now, we worked with them. And after we want to enlarge this project to another countries in Europe, and we discovered that Zulork is making also a project in a little village, remote areas in Greece, and so we invite them into this project. And now in July we will have the answer, but we pray God that we will have this project, because for us it's this topic, School of Commons. For us, it's a new topic we want to discover inside Collectif Etc.
And we wanted to make it as a school, because I think that we are living in societies in crisis. And during this crisis, everybody is telling you what to do, you know. It's like, you should do that, we should do that. And it's all about giving advice and orders. But I think what we want to do is to build the answers, and building the answers, you have to be in an open way. You don't have to go in places and say, that's the way you should do architecture, that's the way you should build city. And what we are trying to do in our practice is to not say to the people how they should live and how they should behave, but to build this new way of living and producing spaces with the people. So that is why 10 years ago, we said that the Tour de France was the education of the beaten path. And that is why this project, we called it as a school, which can be a bit pretentious, but it's a school in a way that we all want to be students, and even us.
Maybe also students, and we all, like, everybody will be students and everybody will be teaching, for sure.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. No, that's why I said that it's quite close to our hearts, because it's something that for us it's also very important, that this kind of education as well, also regarding like space makers and architecture in general, because like citizens in general, they at least here in Portugal, they are quite close to one idea of what is an architect. That is like this guy, super expensive, that works only to design houses for rich people. That's it. Like, this is like, okay, I'm resuming too much, but this is a little bit like the idea behind what an architect do. And there's a lot of things that we can do as well with communities, and actually there's a lot of things that we can actually learn from people in general, that if we just stay in our offices designing whatever and don't go out and don't listen to what people's needs and ideas are, we are just losing. Manu from Zulark was saying that the answer of the cities is already there. We as an architect, we just have to go there and pick it up somehow.
Usually we
So
say that we are more interested about architecture than architects. And you know,
yes,
we sometimes we say we are cookers, we are printers, we have a publishing house, we make screen printing, we make many things around our projects like filmmaking and
of course, yeah.
writing, and so
Plumbing.
it's not only about being an architect, and we define we are interested into architecture more than architect, definitely.
Yeah.
We
And
don't claim
do
to.
you feel that is somehow related with how like it's related with the classical way of teaching architecture in schools, or do you think it's just a do you feel that in I mean, you are not so old, so you should still remember when you were studying. But do you feel that somehow in school there's still like you are teach in a more classical way, or you don't think it's related?
I think that that is just my opinion, but I think that authority is everywhere, and that's a shame. And authority is also at school, because you have a teacher that is getting the knowledge, and you have the students that are some passive people that should just eat the knowledge that the teacher is giving them. And we think that that's an old-fashioned way of teaching architecture, and fortunately, there are many teachers that have think about alternative way of teaching. And I think that's a very interesting way of teaching, is to try to get out of this authority bound that is between the teacher and the student. That is why I said that we are all students. And I think that if you go to architecture school and you say, for 1 week, the students are going to teach the teachers, and they are going to teach them how to teach architecture, I think that should be a very interesting idea. You know, there should be a school for architecture teachers, so they can
Yes.
learn from the students themselves what they want to do, what is interesting to them. So it's, I think, this authority bond that we are trying to get off in the architecture, it can be in a school too.
Yeah, for my part, we met these wonderful teachers from London University and from Athens University for this project Erasmus Plus, but they are alone. For
Yes.
me, it's
Yes.
like two teachers
Yeah.
among
I know the
50.
feeling. Yes. We
And
already look. Yeah.
they are struggling for years just to bring students
Yeah.
outside London, for example. You know, for me it's a war. It's a war they have to make, and I want now, after 10 years of practice, for my part, I would love to enter these kind of schools and to give a kick inside, in order to, and inside the Collectif Etc there is one guy, Florent, who made a thesis, his thesis of 5 years research inside Collectif Etc, and now he's a doctor, and he tried to enter the school of Marseille, to, you know, to bring some new subject, new way of teaching, new way of dealing with students, to bring students outside schools, and it was difficult. It was difficult for him, and for my part, I want to continue this. I want personally go inside schools, because I think everything is inside schools,
There's a lot of work to do there, no?
and there is a lot of work to do. And we know some people now, some researchers, some teachers who are very into new way of thinking architecture, and these architects, these teachers from Athens University is like 62 years old, and is wonderful. So we spent 3 months speaking with him, and he wants to bring like 25 people in Italy. He will bring students inside this little village in Greece. He understands everything, and he's 60 years old. So
Yes.
I have a lot of hope inside me for the future of the School of Architecture. But we have to go inside.
Yeah, but you know that you were saying this about like we also had the opportunity to meet some of these teachers a little bit around Europe. Um, but it is the same that somehow you see on them that they are also like struggling inside the universities to try to like to bring up some new approach, some different opinions. That doesn't mean that they are worst or better. It's just a new different way of doing stuff and listening to people. So let's hope that these guys will start to multiply a little bit.
But you know, the main problem I think in School of Architecture is that there is never we never talk about politics. We never we never talked about what architect can bring to people, you know, in a political way of practicing. And
Yeah,
we are building this new project also with this theme of how you can get students closer of actual political issues that are very for my part it's very important for an architect to be aware of
yeah, of
all the
course.
political situations. And now I think in schools we are never talking about this.
No, you are just in another space, time,
Yeah.
and place. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I want to talk about. So you talked that you are now getting more into buildings and stuff. So one of the things that starts to come up now with the situation that we are all living in a bit, staying at our houses and close inside our houses, is the fact that we are actually seeing that there's a lot of cities, especially somehow in the center south of Europe, that housing is such a problem. Like how proper housing conditions are actually a huge problem, and now with people 24 hours a day at home, it's getting even more evident. The other day we just read that Marseille got, I think it was last year, he got to he reached the point of like the breaking point of the house conditions because they were quite old. The same happened was happening in Lisbon, but then with tourism and Airbnb, it starts to get a little bit change in a way, but then people are not living there. So, do you feel that there's a lot of work to do regarding not only the buildings themselves, but regarding also like the law and legislation that should be more updated to the new times somehow? Do you feel that as well there or not? I'm sure that no.
Yeah, I think that we have a huge problem over the last decade at least, is that we have a really hard time to trust politics. And I think that many people around the world, around Europe, around your country, our country, are not trusting our politics, and they are not trusting that these politics are their goal as to improve our lives. There is this big feeling about that, and I think it just reflects into housing. You know, it's like who really think that our politicians will help about these issues on housing the people in a decent way, in a good way in our cities. So I think that your question is related to that problem, that who is going to lead that question of housing, and especially in all the questions about public issues, is who is going to lead them. And I want to insist on one point that is really important for us in the Collectif Etc, is we don't think that we have to throw all the politicians away. A lot of them maybe, but I think that a very interesting scale is the scale of the municipality. And especially the municipalities in remote areas. And there are a lot of, wow.
Sorry,
Okay?
something just fall here.
Okay.
I'm okay.
We think that there is a lot of theories about municipalism and this scale of municipality in the left wing theories. It's really rooted, and for example, in Spain, it took very particular ways as many municipalities of the country turned it to be led by people that used to be in the social movement.
Yeah.
So I think that all of this is really interesting us. And as we know, in France, there is a lot of really interesting municipalities in rural areas. And now we're in Marseille.
Like these medium small cities, you mean? Yeah.
And even smaller, I'm talking about villages too, you know. And in big cities, there is a lot of corruption. There is a lot of all the problems in the democratic systems. So, like in Marseille, it's really, really the people who are running the city are really stupid for the last decades. They are like really dumbass people, and everybody knows about this. It's not a surprise, you know, everybody knows. But in remote areas, we find municipalities that are really into their territories and really connected to the people.
But you think it's also because of distance somehow? Because, like, for instance, I was born in a small town in Portugal, and then I moved to Lisbon to study, and then I stay here. So I have these two knowledge about this like small city and the big city, and somehow like the connection that you have with the persons that work on your municipality, like you know them, you talk with them. It's like this proximity. They understand quite well the needs because they are close to people and close to spaces. They use them as well. And do you think when you go to the big city, this distance is it's like almost like a government distance somehow? No, that could be also like one of the problems.
There is a French philosopher that say that democracy is as far as your voice is going.
Yeah.
And if the people can't hear you, then
Yeah.
it's no longer a democracy. I think it's a bit radical, but what we have seen in the movements, in the social movements in the last decade, like I don't know, in New York or Hong Kong, is people that are spreading messages through the crowd. And I think this scale of people interacting together is really, really important. And I think that public realms are really about that scale of community, and our projects are really into that scale of the community, which is the scale of what the people can understand. What is really important is that the people should not get close to this local thing. Otherwise, it gets really right-handed.
Yeah. Then it gets too local.
What is important is to have both the really local scale and both the scale that is beyond border. That is why we are really interested into European scale and local scale, and not about national scale.
Okay.
To just go between these scales is the way that you keep project connected to the people, and at the same time connected to a broader perspective that is connecting them to people, to foreigners, and that is the two scale we want to move from.
But what do you think about like now focusing a little bit on public space, for instance, what do you feel that like as citizens, like when people start to get aware of public space, for instance, like their public space, the ones that they connect with, do you think that I mean the dream of democracy will be that I can interact and change my public space in a way because it's part of my city and my neighborhood somehow. And do you think that this is happening? So this relationship from citizens to their public space, it's something that is getting bigger, or do you think that there's this kind of position that somehow people give this task to the municipality or to politics in general?
I think it's a very good question, and I just want to, because you said, okay, I think in Marseille, from my perspective, we are here for 5 years or 6 years now, Collectif Etc, we are in Marseille, so we reach a lot of, we connect with a lot of people in Marseille, and I don't know if it's particular to this city, but I can speak about Marseille because I live here for 5 years.
Of course, yeah.
There is a lot of people working and struggling for a new way of thinking the political system, a new way of thinking public space project. And for 5 years now, we met this kind of local association inhabitants who create association in order to struggle for their public spaces, for example. And in Marseille, for example, 3 years ago, the municipality decided to transform and to refresh a very old and famous public space in the center of the city. And okay, we say okay, this public space need work because it's like this for 50 years now. It's old and there is a lot of problems, and we have to transform this public space, but we have to do it with the inhabitants, the people who are living there. So they said okay, and they are creating this project. And at one point we said okay, it's a joke. It's a joke because the municipality choose an architect, and this architect choose at the end a Parisian office who has to work on this participation way of doing urbanism places nowadays. And luckily we said okay, we are not agree with this. And for the last 2 years there were a lot of struggles of inhabitants in Marseille. And I was very happy to see this.
To see that they are actually, yeah.
It was
it's also,
it was like a war, you know. The municipality built a concrete wall around the place in order to do the first work, the first transformation. They had to build this concrete wall in order to prevent
people from going there,
people from struggling, and because they were not agreed.
Yeah.
And OTC, at the end, we participate to this. We help these local associations to make debate on the public spaces. We help them we bring them tools like we call it. It's a mobile Agora. You can. It's a parliament. You can take it from our workspace, install it in 20
and
minutes.
People can use it.
And people can talk about. They can debate about stuff. And for us it was very interesting because at first we were invited to do the project, and at the end we were with the inhabitants talking about how this project was crazy.
Yes.
Know? And for us it was the first step of the Collectif Etc, how we can help these kind of local inhabitants to speak about their public spaces, how they want to do it, and how their voices are bringing to the architects who are in charge of the project. And it was for my
Do
part.
you feel like, because now that you were talking, there's a lot of points that we also feel it here in Portugal, and for instance, there's this. It's a little bit like what we are talking about the university. You also feel that inside the municipalities there are also people that are very interesting to work with. Like normally they are alone or they are just a few of them, but you feel that there are these people, and somehow, like here, for instance, in Lisbon, that it's also a big city and it's like the municipality, it's not so close to people, but here we start to feel that there's this will of participation from the municipality, but somehow it comes in a really, really deformed way, because it's like this participation that is like, do you want yellow or blue? Choose blue. Okay, that's participation. But of course, that's not participation. But we feel that sometimes, like, we are contacted by the municipality to enter a process or a project to engage people to participate on it. But then we find that there's a, a branch of impossibilities to do that work, because for instance they ask us to do imagine a participated intervention on public space, but then the contract or whatever, it's still like the classical architectural type of contract that the first thing that we'll ask you is for a drawing. And then we say, okay, but if we have to do this with the local community, for instance, we cannot have already a drawing pre-made. We have to go with them and start to understand what they want. So sometimes we feel that even if there's a movement of democracy and municipality that are actually going to the open participation, there are still like the process itself, it's still very classical. So you get to a point that you want to do it, you are asked to do it, but you don't have the tools to do it. You cannot do it. Do you feel this a little bit as well, like the way you contract with the municipality or the way you process, like officially process stuff with them, or not?
There is something that that is changing in Collectif Etc over the years. Is that
I'm listening. I just have to connect my phone because that's what falls. Sorry, but I'm listening. I'm listening, guys.
Okay. So one thing that is changing in Collectif Etc is that we used to talk about the spontaneous public of the city. You know, that means that we're running projects in public spaces, and suddenly people would just come around and start creating an informal community and everything. And now we think that it's not really effective and not really possible. And what we're looking in our project is key association that is between us and the publics. Mm-hmm. And these key associations are the community organizing, you know, the people that are organizing the community. They can be associations, they can be municipalities, they can be informal
groups
people
or
in the neighborhood. It can have many forms. And you're speaking about municipality, and we think that municipalities can be one form of these key actors that is connecting us as collectives and architects with the publics. But it's not only the key actors, and we are getting more and more involved with the local associations instead of municipalities. Mm-hmm. And we think that, as I was saying, you know, municipalities cannot always be trusted anymore. And sometimes the civic society is a lot more into democracy than our public authorities. And we are getting more and more interesting with these associations because of that, because we think that democracy is no longer so much about public authorities, but more in the hand of the people and the civic associations that are leading these projects. So now we really want to work with these people. We don't want to work with the spontaneous public of the city because it doesn't really exist. And we don't always work with municipalities because they can't always be trusted. We want to work in
between.
Yeah,
Okay.
with these key actors.
So I want to ask you one thing. Do you have time? I have no idea what time is it because I'm actually I have no watch. Can somebody tell me what time is it? I have no watch with me, so I don't know what time is it.
Yeah, we don't know either.
Can somebody that is watching tell us what time is it? Either Portuguese or French time? No. Well, no. I just want to ask you like a different topic, but it's also related with this with the things that we are talking. Do you feel like somehow, like some years ago, we had this financial crisis, a little bit all over the world, but also in Europe. Now we are having this kind of, I don't know, health crisis, or I don't know what to call it. Maybe tomorrow we'll have like a kind of digital crisis. Do you feel that somehow also with cities getting more complex and with more people, that our lives as citizens are getting more and more complex and more dependent to a system, that this crisis will happen more often somehow? So we as architects that work on cities and or on spaces or on village or whatever, that we have to start to consider to be like more adaptable and more resilient in a way, because this will be something that is going to happen more and more. Do you feel it?
I think that we are trying to find new ways of producing architecture, new ways of producing cities, and at the same time, there are people that are transforming space into products and selling them. And at the same time, we want to build with local and reused materials. At the same time, there are people that are digging the sand into the sea to build some shitty housing that are going to sell it for gold,
Yeah.
So what we're asking now is how can we be, I don't know, a little bit more threatening? And I think that back in the 60s and the 70s, there was a big idea of struggle and fight against. And I think that now, in the 2020 years, I hope that in architecture and space, we're going to get back to this idea of fighting against people that are really going to destroy our planet, destroy our solidarities, just exploiting people. And I think that architecture has a key role into that, because architecture is exploiting a lot of people on the construction site. It's exploiting the planet a lot with all the shitty materials they are using. So I think this can't be anymore. And our collectives, in a really, really, really modest way, are trying to get alternatives to that. And we should never forget that our alternative is not about just alternative. It's alternative that, in a way, are fighting this really shitty system that is leading to several crises. And in 2008, as you refer, a lot of the medias say that, okay, now the state are going to take the financial system calm down and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, what, 12 years, what have they done, It's just the same. So there is a really, really big issue about this, and we think that we have both to build alternative, but also fight these shitty ways of producing spaces, architecture, and cities.
And that's why now,
I will
that's why
vote. I will vote on you.
and for years we are very lucky, but we always decide the project we want to make, and we never want to make project with a big enterprise where these guys who are building the cities nowadays in France, for example, to build
Real estate companies.
the real estate companies. For example, every week, Collectif Etc, we are receiving a mail of a real estate company who want to work with us in order to make a new zone for to live, you know. And they need in France. These guys are now obliged to make a participation.
Yeah. So they talk with you, so you can mask a little bit the.
Okay,
so you can do the number.
We are receiving this mail. Okay, do you want to work with us? To work 1 week to work with inhabitants and to make a project with inhabitants. And for us, it's we want to puke. It's horrible, because these guys are obliged now to use collectives in order to work, because it's in the law. And Collectif Etc, we are very aware of this, and we don't want to. It's very difficult because the money is here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. And
you still need to eat.
Yeah.
And to buy big houses.
To buy a house, for 15 people.
We just can't say, okay, we do this project, we don't talk about it, but we never do it because we never did it because we want to have a very strong way of saying of explaining and saying what we are doing, and we want to be fair. And it's very difficult because, as I said, these kind of big companies nowadays, they know how work, they know how we work, and maybe they will copy in a way. They are creating little company who are working, like us.
Just to do it, yeah.
Yeah, and so we have to be very aware of it's very important to be aware of this and to struggle this. And we will continue to do it, but in this kind of times, for example, it's very difficult. Because, for example, when the coronavirus arrived, all our projects were finished. Okay, it's finished because you can't work with people anymore.
Yeah,
so
it's same here.
What we have to do, what is the solution, and we have to find new solution, new way of work.
That will never be built with these people.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't forget about that.
Well, guys, I think that we are almost kicking out by. I have no. I just finished my beer already. Sorry.
What we said in Portugal, la lucha, la lutte, la lutte.
A luta.
La luta.
La luta.
La luta.
Let's fight. So thank you, guys. To be honest, I would be here like 1 or 2 hours more speaking with you. I'm just afraid that this will be cut in like without warning us. Yeah. Now I receive a warning. It's 1 minute. We have 1 minute.
Okay.
So I really want to thank you.
We met in Portugal when we are going back in Trafaria working with Gato Morto.
Yes.
1 year.
Yes.
Thank you, Gato Morto.
Sam, Gato Morto. Gato Morto was there saying something in the beginning.
Okay, I didn't see it.
Probably now they already went away because they are tired of us and you already. So they
let's meet in a real life one day.
Yes, I hope so. I'm tired of this digital thing, but for now we keep doing it, and it's a way of being connecting. And I think it's also very nice that you and all the other guests are saying yes to our debate and
Thank you.
Public debate, because somehow I think it's a good thing that we keep together, even if it's through Instagram live or something like this. So thank you, guys, and next week if you pass by we'll have somebody else
Who is
that
it?
probably you know.
Who is it?
I don't know. Damn it, I don't know.
We will
Because
see.
there's a list. It goes until July, so I don't know.
It's a surprise. Surprise.
I think it's. I don't know if it's Horizontale or Batsurama. I don't know.
Perfect.
One of
Both
them,
are perfect.
or probably somebody else, and I'm forgetting. Sorry. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll be here next Thursday. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Arrivederci. Ciao ciao.
Bye bye.
Ciao.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. On va l'appeler.